Okay, this is our second lesson on crime and deviance, and we're going to start looking at, well, how much crime is there in our country? And we're going to look at, well, what are the official government statistics about how much crime and what types of crime exist. So we're going to learn about the difficulties with calculating the amount of crime. We're going to understand these problems, and by doing that we are thinking like a sociologist. Put very simply, the official government statistics for crime are wrong. They are wrong by a mile. They underestimate the true amount of crime by at least 100%. And yet the figures are trotted out every 3 months on the news. Crime's up, crime's down, this crime up, this crime down. It's a crisis, it's going really well. And anybody who works in the social sciences and the media knows that the stats are garbage, and it's easy to figure out why. That's what we're going to look at today. Keywords: Home Office, government department that is. Police: reported, recorded. Procedures, the way you do something. Thresholds, the amount you've got to get to before you bother talking about it. Criteria, rules. Operations, swoops, cautions and convictions. Right. Just a quick bit of data here. Every month, the different police forces send the government, the Home Office, data on the amount and type of crime in their areas. Every quarter, at every 3 months, the Home Office publishes this data. It always gets on the news. That's how it works. The police forces, the Met in London, Kent, send data saying in the last 3 months we had this much crime, these sorts of crime in our area. The Home Office puts together and puts it in the newspapers. As sociologists, we use this data because, one, there's an absolute ton of it. Great. Two, it is free. Double great. Three, it is quite useful for seeing certain things. In a moment when we go through the problems with it, we can then start thinking about, well, why would we use it if it has these problems? Of course, I hope you already know the answer is, when you know the problems of a procedure, you can work around them. As long as you know why it's rubbish, you can make allowances for that rubbishness. Right. The figures are wrong. Not completely wrong, just very misleading if you do not know the three problems. Detection. What happens if a crime happens and the victim doesn't know about it? In that case, they can't possibly call the police. They don't know it's happened. The shop by the bus stops. 3:15, people leave the school. Somebody goes into that shop and they steal a Mars bar. If the shopkeeper does not see them pinch the Mars bar, he has no idea it's happened, therefore can't possibly call the police to say a Mars bar's been pinched. Detection. 2, reporting. If the victim knows they've been a victim of a crime, but they don't bother to ring the police and tell them, the police can't write it down and it can't get on the stats. So sticking with our example, let's say somebody pinches a Mars bar from the shop, but this time the shopkeeper sees them, but they get away. Does the shopkeeper ring the police? Well, of course not. It's not a big deal. There's no point. The police won't do anything, etc., etc. Therefore, that crime that's definitely happened does not get reported to the police. Thirdly, recording. Let's stick with our example. Somebody pinches the Mars bar. The shopkeeper sees them. But this time the shopkeeper does ring the police to report the crime. The police do not write it down. They do not record the incident because it is too trivial. And again, the crime does not appear on the crime stats. 3 reasons why the crime stats are rubbish for certain crimes. In future lessons we'll look at certain crime is fine for, like, murder, but trivial theft-based crimes, no good. Drug dealing, no use. Detection, reporting, recording. Think about a drug deal. People in the drug deal, they're not the victims. No detection here. No one's going to report it. I sold drugs. I bought drugs. So it's not going to happen. Those crimes are not going to appear on the crime stats. So the crime stats can be useful as long as you know exactly what it is you are looking at. So these murders in London, 2006, 2011, these figures are going to be pretty accurate. Murders get detected, they get reported, and they get recorded. So the murder figures are right. The figures for theft are wrong. The figures for drug dealing, drug offences are wrong. For these reasons.